You're listening to the Coop Homeschool Podcast.
This is your podcast for community, humility, and joyful fun in homeschooling. I'm Mandy.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is
The Coop.
So today we're talking about how to homeschool a preschooler.
Yep.
So I love this subject because I love my curriculum, and so I'm going to be diving into that later. But first, let's talk about our scoop for the week.
Sure. I'll go first. So I recently just ordered 5 new homeschooling books off of Amazon. It's all about personal development this summer.
I love it.
So I'm diving into my first one, and I think that I Marco Polo'd Mandy or texted her like after reading the prologue and said, Mandy, this book was written for me.
I love that. You showed me all the different chapters.
I did.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, so it's called Free to Play by Dr. Peter Gray, who's a psychology professor and a father, and he learned firsthand that his son just was not going to thrive in the traditional school system. And it took his son yelling at a room full of adults because he could not be heard. And Dr. Peter Gray, rather than deciding he knew what was best for his kid and sticking to what he was trying to do, he stepped back and he said, this is wrong. He cried and he said, I'm going to do better for my kid.
Aww.
His son was only 9.
So cool.
And he stood up to all these adults. And it was just a really, I already have goosebumps because it was just a really magical moment of it's okay to step back. And so I'm anxious to keep going and read more. Yeah.
I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah.
And then I don't even have to read it. I can just...
I'll summarize for you.
Get it from you. I love it. Yeah. Well, for me, I've been planning... Ever since my spouse started reading Alice in Wonderland, I've been planning on doing a Alice in Wonderland tea party for just our family.
Right.
And then also wanting to do a theme day for the Coop.
Oh, fun.
Our Coop group. Yeah. So I went way over budget and bought a bunch of stuff from Amazon. And that stuff has been coming in, like little signs like this way, no, this way.
Cute.
And a croquet game came.
Perfect. You gotta have that.
Exactly. Like, what a great thing for the Coop group to get to do
Totally.
Whenever we can host it. I'm going to have teacups hanging from the trees, and it's going to be really fun. And so it was just fun as these things came in. Even just like an Alice in Wonderland deck of cards came in. Right. So
magical.
I'm really excited. And I could have probably spent $100 more getting stuff because there's so much stuff out there for an Alice in Wonderland theme. But I had to stop
Rein
writing
it in a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about preschoolers.
Yes.
And I don't know, what age do you think preschoolers range?
I think it's typically 3 to 5.
Okay, 3 to 5. So right now, my quote unquote preschooler was TK.
Sure.
But could just as simply be preschooler as well. She's
Right.
5. But I've had 3 kids now, and the first 2 got what I consider the most ideal preschool life at home. And it was using this curriculum from the Homegrown Preschooler called A Year of Playing Skillfully. And it's just play. So it's basically Pinterest in a binder.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so this binder is just one of 4 actually. And because I put everything in protective sheets. And what she does is every month has a theme, and she addresses all the different subjects.
Okay.
And so you might have a Bible verse to memorize. And then for math, it's a fun, 5 different math things you could do. So for books, they recommend books for September. They recommend handicrafts for September, like a weaving loom using chicken wire and fabric. So I went and got the chicken wire in a frame, a huge frame, and we got fabric and weaved through it. So what I love is there's a variety of activities.
Right.
She has a supply list for everything you need to buy.
Nice.
So you don't have to go through each craft and she, like I said, she has the range. So I just want to mention that she has things where she recommends like the circle of songs, and It's a CD with Hugh Hanley singing songs with his guitar, like a peanut butter and jelly song. And then he sings it, and you sit with them, and you make peanut butter and jelly with your hands. You do an elevator going up and going down. There's all these different wonderful songs, like I'm Bringing Home My Baby Bumblebee, and things like that.
Very cute.
And you can play it in the car, do it in the car, whatever. And then another book they had recommended was Can You Hear It? And what I love about it, it's artwork with a CD to go with it. And the artwork is a famous piece of art. And then the CD tells you is the classical music that goes with it. And then it says what to listen for. And it might be like, listen for the honking. And because the art picture has cars in it or something.
Clever.
And we would dance to it and stuff. So this preschool curriculum has a really great resource just telling you what books to read that month. And you don't have to do any of the guesswork on your own. It tells you to do Frog and Toad in September. And then it also has a herbal tea Play-Doh recipe in there. It has hand painting, and it says to roll out a huge thing of butcher paper. And this is almost all just in September.
Wow.
Sensory bin with water beads in it. So it's all stuff that's free play. Like they can do whatever they want with the butcher paper and the paint. It's just giving you ideas.
Right.
And then also like intimate time that you can sit with them and do these special things with them. And so I loved it. They even have a first day of school where it's a hot air balloon ride. And so I did. I went and got like 15 helium balloons. I borrowed a huge basket where we could all fit inside the basket, tied the balloons to the basket. And then they gave us a hot air balloon book to check out of the library to use. And that's called Hot Air. Right. And then I put Disneyland maps, I made it my own. I put Disneyland maps on the ground, and we pretended to fly over Disneyland, and what do you see? And so now they're learning about maps, and they're looking for their favorite ride. And it was just like a really fun time. So another thing is she suggests that you make these little journal books, and they're just pieces of paper with some fabric, and you just sew them together. Oh, fun. And then you take them wherever you go. So I used to make about 20 a year, and it was just always ready for them to take with them on activities. And all those ideas are in this curriculum.
That's amazing.
So it's called, it's by the Homegrown Preschooler, and it's a year of playing skillfully. So besides that, and the awesomeness of that, I also would utilize, and I've talked about this with toddlers as well, I utilized breakfast and lunch, and that was when we did table time.
Right.
So that was their desk time, and I didn't try and force any other table time. And so that's when I would do like Kingfishers, illustrated Bible stories, and we would go each day, we would just do the next story. And so we would go through the whole Bible in 1 year, basically. And they had these, they used their little sewn journals. And when I was reading to them the story, they would draw. So here's Joseph's coat.
Cute.
Yeah. They would draw the little picture that goes along with it. And then I would write in it what it was so I could remember and go back and say, oh, this is baby Moses. And, and that was them getting used to drawing and using their crayons or coloring pencils and learning to listen. And how great they're learning something that I truly valued, our whole family valued as our number one priority, which is our faith.
That's awesome.
And so that's how I used our table time. And then maybe if we're going to make Play-Doh at that point, or they were going to play with their homemade Play-Doh, it would just carry on to that table time.
Right. So
that's what I loved. And there's not, it can get expensive. But you don't have to do the whole thing. It's just like, they even have a planning page for each month. Like, what day are you going to do what?
Right.
And so then you can pick one cool thing that they have in there per day that you do. And then I had a routine. So breakfast time was the Bible time. And then we might do one more thing at the table when they were done eating. And then I would go do the activity, and they would do it for however long they wanted.
Cute.
And then maybe we would do circle time and do the circle of songs, or can you hear this? And it was just a bonding, fun experience. It wasn't any pressure, any rigor. Right. It was just fun. It was just, creative time where they could create and be themselves and have fun. And then it filled up the day for me. So I wasn't feeling like the day was an eternity, which it can feel sometimes when you have littles.
Definitely.
So I really loved that. that's kind of the gamut of what I did. And then, of course, field trips, if you want to call it that. Just experiences out and about.
Out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're big Disney fans and we have a pass. So we would go, 3 to 4 times a month and sometimes longer. And we could go stay at Grandma and Grandpa's house for a few days and go swimming at the other Grandma and Grandpa's pool and go to the gardens, go to Balboa Park, go wherever, Free Tuesday at Balboa Park. We would go do that every Tuesday for like one whole year, and utilize those free museums. So we just had a really great time doing preschool and no pressure. And I think my son was probably age 5, 6, and then my daughter was age 3, 4.
Got it.
And it just worked great for both of them.
That's
together,
perfect.
doing it together. Oh yeah, she even has you make a garden. And in homegrown preschool, they have you make a garden inside a huge like animal crackers bin from Costco.
Funny.
Yeah, it's just all the creative ideas are here. And yeah, I could go on Pinterest, but that you spend a lot of time.
You get sucked in.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, and then if you want a theme, she does the theme for you.
Right. She just did all the hard work of combing through Pinterest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's downloadable, but I actually bought the paper versions because I loved how pretty it was. And yeah, it was like double or triple the cost to do that, but it was worth it to me to see the pretty.
You put it into a binder and now it's tangible. You don't have to go be on your phone. And I mean, that's the last thing you want to do a lot of times when you're just trying to do something with a preschool aged kid.
Yeah. And they can leaf through it and they can see like, oh, that looks fun for this month. This is what I want to do. And you're like, okay, cool. So, I have another thing that I did.
Yes.
So, of course, I've had more than 1 year doing preschool, right? So, another year what I did was I did themes, and every month was a theme. And, for example, Transportation Month, I made sure we took the bus somewhere. So, we took it to one near Starbucks. We took the metro to the beach, or the train to the beach. I even drove up to my parents and got on the actual Amtrak and took the Amtrak up to LA Union Station.
Fun.
Got off and then took another one back because I was too scared to walk around LA with 2 little kids.
Yeah.
So at that point in time. So but they got to do that. And
that's cool.
And then when we went to Disneyland that month, the focus was always, what transportation is this? It's a boat on Small World. It's a,
You know what's funny about that is I actually remember running into you at our public library when you were grabbing all those books.
Oh, funny!
Yes, because it was before we were really friends, but your middle daughter had already taken my ballet class that I teach, and my daughter was in it. So we were familiar with each other. We ran into you at the library, and you must have had like a stack of books. And I saw, or maybe you also told me, but it was all transportation, and I was like, that's a lot of books. I was really impressed. It was very organized.
And I probably didn't even read all those. They were just available. Right. Yeah. And then another thing we did, which was really great, we did community 1 month. And so I didn't have you as my close homeschool friend at that time, but I did have a couple other families that I invited to go tour the police station.
Right. Yeah.
And so we did that. And then we toured, my kids and I toured the fire station.
That's cool.
And then just my kids and I, we went to the post office and they gave us a tour of the back area.
Right.
So that was amazing. I'm like, kids, you have no idea how amazing it is to get to be back here.
Right.
Look at how they do this. Look how it comes down from the sky. Or, look at how they organize everything. It was so intriguing as an adult.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and I think we made cards for everybody as a thank you, like when we would show up, thanks for your service and things like that. So, and we had a nature theme. We had a ocean theme and went to SeaWorld and went to the beach. And so it was just really fun to do themes, and I'm a big person in a theme. It's just a way to organize information.
Exactly.
And there was no pressure. It was just, we were just doing what was fun.
Right.
And it was just fun to do all that stuff. And then they were still learning about their faith at the same time. And so all that together, it was just the best preschool experience for the older 2, I would say.
That's really cool.
And then the third one, I just find her with her hands in the frosting, right?
Yeah.
So the third one just has to soak it all in and go with the flow, and she still gets amazing experiences because we still go to the museums, we still go to the beach, we still go to Disneyland and SeaWorld, And she helps. She sits there and she helps with the flashcards. She's hearing everything.
Right. Because by the time she was preschool, your older two were in kindergarten and first grade at least.
At least, yeah.
Right. And then going up. So you had to spend a lot of your time really starting curriculum with them and kind of a new routine.
Right.
And she was just kind of in that, you said it in the last episode, in that one room schoolhouse with you. So her preschool ended up looking a little bit different.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I still did Circle of Songs.
Right.
But it was just in the car.
Sure.
And
looked different.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually, and then when I did my Frozen themed day, where did I go? I went to my homegrown preschooler and looked at December and January to see what were some winter activities to do, because they did go with the seasons on that.
Sure.
So I could still touch back to that and do the marshmallow with the toothpicks.
Right.
So it's really just great still to have these on hand, and I've loaned out one binder here and there, and hopefully people were blessed by it and actually utilized it. But it's just a really great resource, and I have loved it. But I am still hoping to touch on this next year with my she'll be 6 years old.
Right.
Because, it says it's for ages like 4 to 7.
Right.
So, and really for anyone, all these crafts are super fun. Who doesn't want to paint with their hands? Who doesn't want to splatter paint on a huge, long line of butcher paper?
Totally.
So that was very long-winded and a very long amount of information.
Right.
But, so tell me for you, so you've had one go through preschool age.
Yes. So she's 8 now. And my other child is only 2. So there's 6 years between. So I haven't entered preschool yet with him. But this is going to be quite the contrast to yours, because I overwhelm easily. And we talked about that in episode 1. And so I knew from the get-go with her that I needed to have a low-key, low-stress. And then, as I was researching homeschool way back then, because I always knew I was called to homeschool, I really loved and gravitated towards that unschooling philosophy of just give them time. That in and of itself is a gift. Let her explore. Yeah. That doesn't mean I didn't have things available to her.
Right.
But it was just a little less organized, a little less intentional, and a little more free flow.
Right.
So for us, that's just what we did. She was very independent. She's a great independent player, always has been. And so if that's what she was doing during the day, that's what I let her do.
Oh, yeah. She got to explore her interests on her own and kind of problem solve and figure things out.
And there's opportunity within that.
Definitely.
So I was able to go from what she was already doing and add moments of learning. So when she was obsessed with her dinosaurs, and she wanted to learn their names, we found really cool reference books. Those cool ones you find at Costco.
Oh, yeah.
Had like a little slider on the
beautiful,
side. Yeah, and it would show you what era they lived in. And so those were things we were talking about. I don't know if she's going to be a paleontologist. I mean, right now I can tell you she's probably not. But at 3, I didn't know. And so that was what she was interested in.
And when you went on a road trip,
yeah, we went up to, which one was it? It was up in Oregon, anyway, I don't remember what it's called. But there's a beautiful prehistoric gardens. That's it.
Oh,
prehistoric
cool.
gardens up in Oregon. And we planned our road trip and made sure we could get through there. And it was beautiful. We loved it. They had they tried to do true to life size dinosaurs. And you went on a walk starting in the furthest back, the oldest dinosaurs all the way around into the most recent ones. And it was really cool.
And she probably loved it.
She did. And we let her get a souvenir. And, she picked a dinosaur she didn't already have in her collection. And that was really cool.
She had 3 dozen little dinosaurs.
Yes. We have the minis. We have the medium size. She had a couple of the giant ones that now my little guy really loves. And then there was the plush ones.
Oh, funny.
So,
that's just a really great example of what we've mentioned in other things of if your child has an interest, then you just lean into it, and then you don't use arbitrary benchmarks or requirements to sweep that away.
Right.
You just go with it and not worry about what the government, let's say, is saying they should be doing in preschool.
Right, because she was identifying letters. She knew which dinosaur was Deinonychus because she saw the letter D. Oh, yeah. And, it's something we identified. So even in just talking about dinosaurs, we can identify letters. We can identify things like that. That's really what preschool is kind of about, Right. And then we would find dinosaur songs. So we had a dinosaur marching song, or we would watch Dinosaur Train and their dinosaur song. And then by the time she was 4, she wanted to build her own book of dinosaurs. So she would tell me what dinosaur she wanted, and we would search for the perfect picture to represent that dinosaur. And then we would type the facts that she wanted. So she'd say, I want to know how big it is. So I would go and find out, and then I'd put it in, and we built her a binder of dinosaurs. And I glued fabric on the outside, dinosaur fabric that she picked out. So there was opportunity to do things. I just did it kind of backwards. Rather than having a plan first, I built a plan around what she was already interested in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so she still had this robust preschool experience. It just happened differently.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And so that's like for people like me who love Pinterest and love seeing, who create themed birthday parties and things and themed days and whatever, that serves my love. Mm-hmm. And they enjoyed it, and they still had plenty of time to pursue their interests. Yes. And then for people who aren't that kind of person like me and want to just kind of see where their kids go and if they need to create a different atmosphere environment for them, then they can do that.
Exactly. And the story has not yet been written for my 2.5-year-old. So not this coming year, but maybe the next, I might be borrowing your curriculum just to take some ideas and see what more I can add to him, because he's a different kid.
Totally.
I don't know if he's going to self-direct as long or for as long a duration as my daughter did. So he might enjoy being set up with these opportunities, and that might help really figure out what his interests are. Right now it's cars.
Yeah, that's
everything
awesome.
Cars, and that's really cool. But I don't know if that's how it'll always be. So even now at 2.5, he's been learning his letters because he wants to talk about his cousins, and so there's
and he's in the room with Sophia, so he
that's true.
Hears them, and he knows he wants to be like her, and he knows that's something to learn, and
exactly. So he's even helping me remember that there's already opportunity to introduce that. There's no needing to wait until a certain time.
Right.
If he's pointing to a letter and saying, A Augie, then we keep going and we learn more and we teach more. So that's just, it's very organic in that way.
Right.
And I love that. It just fits in with me as a person. And so far it worked with my 8-year-old, and it got her to where she needed to be. And then we'll just see how my little guy does.
Yeah. It's really nice when you can just follow suit.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there's some preschool in a nutshell. We have some curriculum ideas. We have themed month ideas. We have a way to build around kids' interests and how to grow through those. And we've already mentioned a ton of resources that people can look up. And so let's now look at our joys for the week.
Yeah. So my joy for this week was going to my parents' house. My kids love going up to my parents' house. There's just different toys, and the experience of just being together with them, or the desserts they get at Grandma and Grandpa's house is always different.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, so
I want to go.
I know. So we grilled, and we spent a lot of time outside on their patio, and they have an amazing view. So that was all just really joy filled for me. It gave me a lot of joy to just watch my parents be grandparents.
Aww.
And so it was just a really great weekend. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we had some friends over today, a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. Mm-hmm. And what brought me joy was seeing my 10-year-old really take on the 5-year-old and just show kindness constantly.
Oh, cute.
And when the 5-year-old was nervous about counting by himself in a place he's not sure of, they've never been to our house.
Right.
And to do hide and seek there, my son was like, I'll help him. Aww. And just seeing that was that kindness and sensitivity to another child half his age.
Right. Yeah. He's really sweet. He does such a great job with my little guy too.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank
He's
you.
so
Yeah.
sweet with him.
Yeah, it just brings so much joy to see kids relate with kids of different ages and look out for them and be kind to them, and then still try and navigate and figure out how to balance what they want to do too and their interests and be able to communicate that, to the kids too.
Yeah.
So that was it. So there you have it.
Yeah.
That is homeschooling preschool.